Okay. Today what you're going to be doing is looking at the equation, and you got to find the slope and the y-intercept of the graph of that equation without seeing the actual graph. So what you need to do, and your job is to find the slope and the y-intercept of the equation. Well, the problem with that is, in order for you to know the slope, you need only the y on this side of the equation by itself. Your job is to get the y equals. Now, here's how we're going to operate in this video. I'm going to drop the equals, and then on this sheet, you need the y term all by itself. And over here, you want your x and then your constant. By the way, a constant is a number that is not multiplied by a variable. It has no letter behind it. So you want your y term on this side. So you have the 2y. I want that 2y all by itself. And then I jump to this side of the equals, and I want the x to come first. Well, the 3x is already over there, so I'm going to have 3x. Now after it, I want the constant term, so that would be the 6. But that 6 is on the wrong side of the equals. Now if something has to change sides like that 6 does, it can move over, but the value changes to the opposite. So that 6 is negative over here. If I move the 6 to the other side, it turns into a positive 6, plus 6. Okay? Now, you're just about there. So again, you want your y term, then over on the other side, you want your x term, then your constant. Now, I got to do something about that 2 that is multiplied by y. Well, what I'm going to do is divide everything in this equation by 2. That's a division sign. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, but since it's a 1 in front of a y, now the y is by itself. Now over on the other side, we divide 3 by 2. If you get any decimals, you need to leave it 3 over 2. So it's 3 over 2x. And then over here, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So y equals 3 over 2x plus 3. So my y-intercept is the constant 3, and the slope is 3 over 2. Okay, next problem. You want to keep the 3y where it's at. Then the first thing that comes on the other side is my x term, which is already over there, so it stays negative 2x. But that 6 is on the wrong side. So I can move it over here, but then its value changes from a positive 6 to a negative 6, which means minus 6. Now again, you got to do something about that 3. So you're going to divide by 3, and divide by 3. Basically, every number gets divided by 3, and that's legal, okay? As long as you divide everything by it. Okay, so my y, and then slope, y-intercept. Now 3 divided by 3 is 1, but since I have 1y, that's the same as having y by itself. Now I'm going to divide negative 2 by 3. That's a decimal, so I need to keep that as a fraction. Negative 2 over 3. Negative 2/3 x. And then I divide negative 6 by 3. That's negative 2. So I put minus 2. So the y-intercept's my constant, which is negative 2. And my slope is negative 2/3. Okay, so again, I'm finding the slope and the y-intercept. So you have to get the y by itself. So here's my equals right there. Now the y stays where it's at, so I have a negative 3y. And then over here I need the x. Well, the problem is the x is not on the side it's supposed to be on. Okay, I need it on this side of the equals. It's on this side. So I can move it over here as long as I switch it from a positive 18 to a negative 18x. Now the constant is 15. Now that's where I want it. That's on the side I want it. So I keep that plus 15. Now I need to do something about the negative 3. Okay? Remember, that means negative 3 times y. So I'm going to divide everything in here by negative 3. So that's going to be negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1, but 1 times y is y. Negative 18 divided by negative 3 is 6x. 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. Okay, so my y-intercept is the constant, which would be negative 5, and then the slope is 6. Okay, now the next one has an extra step to it. You got to get the y by itself because that allows me to find the slope and the y-intercept. Now you want the 3y over here. Now over here I want the x first, but there's two x's. Okay? So the 2x is already over there, but I move the 4x over by making it negative 4, which means then I will be subtracting 4x. And then the constant is negative 12, okay? And that's on the side it's supposed to be on, so I keep that a negative. Now, you got an extra step because you have to combine your x's, okay? If I put a 2 with a negative 4, or take 2 minus 4, that's going to be negative 2. So negative 2x minus 12. Now I'm good. Now all I have to do is eliminate the coefficient of 3 by dividing everything in the equation by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, but 1y is like having y by itself. Negative 2 divided by 3 is a decimal, so I keep that negative 2/3 x. And then negative 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4, so minus 4. So the y-intercept is negative 4, and the slope is negative 2 over 3. Okay, example 5. I drop the equals. I want the 6y to stay where it's at. Now, first thing I want is my x term, the 2x. You have 2x. But it's on the wrong side of the equals. To move it to the other side, you simply change its value from a positive 2 to a negative 2x. Then the constant, 12 is already on the right side, so therefore I'm going to keep it as positive 12. Remember the whole end game. It's to find the slope and the y-intercept, but you can't do that unless the y is by itself. So I'm going to divide by 6, divide by 6, divide by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1, but 1y is like I have my y. 1y is y, okay? Having a 1 in front of it's just like having a y by itself. Okay, negative 2 divided by 6, okay? That's going to be a decimal, so I'm going to keep that negative 2/6 x. Then 12 divided by negative 6 is negative 2. Okay, my y-intercept's negative 2. Now your slope is negative 2/3, but can't you simplify that by reducing by 2? Yeah, so that would be negative 1/3 would be my slope. Actually, if you left it negative 2/6, I wouldn't mark you off, but it's better to simplify it. Okay, my next one. Got to find the slope and the y-intercept. So again, I drop my equals straight down. The 2y, that's where I want it. Usually the y is on the side you want it. Then over here you want your 3x, and then the x is already where it's supposed to be, so it stays positive. The 7 has to come over here, so it can come over here as long as I make it a negative. It's positive now, so when it comes over here, it's a negative 7. So I put minus 7. Okay, now this multiplier at 2, I got to do something about that. So we would divide by 2 to make it 1y, which means I have y. Then divide by 2, divide by 2. 3 divided by 2 is a decimal, so we're going to keep that 3 over 2x. Negative 7 divided by 2 is also a decimal, so I'm going to keep that minus 7 halves. So my slope is 3 over 2, and my constant is negative 7 halves. If you had to graph that, you would want to make it negative 3.5, but we don't have to graph it. Okay, slope, y-int, y equals. So again, I want my negative 2y, and it is negative. It's got a subtraction in front of it as a negative value. So negative 2y. Now the x needs to come over here. It's over here, so it's going to go from a positive 5x to a negative 5x. Don't just put 5x if it has to change sides. It changes its value. Then plus 12. Then you got to do something about your multiplier of negative 2. Well, if I divide by negative 2, then I will have 1y, okay? Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. 1 times y is y. 1 times any fact numbers itself, like 1 times, yeah. Okay, negative 5 divided by negative 2 is a decimal. So you're going to keep it as a fraction, but since they are both negatives, you make it positive 5 over 2x, because negative divided by negative is a positive. 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6, so minus 6. So my y-intercept is negative 6, my slope is 5 over 2. Okay, last one, slope, y-intercept. We want y by itself. Now your 4y, that's the only y you have, 4y. It's over there. Now over on the other side, you want your x's. Now you got 2 of them. One of them's already over there, this one right here. So negative 3x. Now to have this 3x join it, it switches from a positive 3x to a negative 3x. And then plus 12. I don't switch to 12 because that's already on the side of the equals it's supposed to be on. Now you have to combine the x's in, now that they're on the same side. So you go, if I put together 2 negative 3's, what's that give me? Or take negative 3 minus 3. Either one works. It's negative 6x. Then plus 12. Now you have to do something about the 4. So you're going to divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, but 1y is y. Negative 6 divided by 4 is a decimal, so I'm going to put negative 6 over 4x. Remember to put the x behind the first one, because that was negative 6x, so when you divide it, it still has its x. 12 divided by 4 is 3, so plus 3. So my y-intercept is 3. And then negative 6 over 4 is my slope, but that can be reduced. You can reduce that by 2. Both the top and the bottom are divisible by 2. So it would be negative 3 over 2. Okay. All right.